All right. Well, once again, it's Friday. We're starting about 30 seconds early, but then again, we're not NASA. We don't have to have it down to the millionth of a second correct time. This is Mary Lou and this is Rima, and we're the only ones in the library right now. So Rima, who really knows how to run the show, may have to disappear to take care of library customers. But while I have her, I'm going to open up the screen right now, see if I can remember which button to press. Good. Wiggle, wiggle. All righty. This, once again, it's like playing the whisper game. This went through 3 people, and somehow the variety of images that showed up are not in the order I had hoped they would be. But we didn't have time because we had trouble. Zoom changed its mind again and we had to reprogram everything, it seemed like. So we didn't have time to reorganize them. So when we get to this part of the program, if you're still with us.
They can't see this, by the way.
Huh?
They can't see
Oh,
this.
they can't see any of it?
No, because we haven't shared anything yet.
Okay, can we share that while I'm talking?
This whole screen?
Yeah?
You have to pick one or the other.
Just one or the other?
They're all pretty.
Where is that little whoosy whatsy? Now what?
Share.
Down there?
Yep.
Okay, share.
Ta-da!
Oh yes, isn't that gorgeous? While we're looking at this gorgeous Waltham butternut squash, I'm going to talk a while about other things leading up to it, all right? Rather than just seeing nothing on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. They couldn't see them all? They had to see just one?
Correct.
Oh. I don't know about the computer. When it can do exactly what I want by verbal command without all this nonsense, then maybe I'll buy one. All righty, where's part 1? Zoom, August 29th. We're on the 11th series, number 11. And basically what we're talking about today is varieties and hybridizing. So let me just start off by saying, way back when, I think in the late 17, maybe early 1800s, a Swedish guy who was an organizer. I can just imagine his kids' closets. Like the Navy, absolutely everything in its place and organized. And he looked around the world, plants and animals, and decided, this is chaos. We've got to organize it somehow. And so he's the father of that system we go with. And I'm going to forget the largest. Well, I guess it's plants or animals, although there are a few that somehow are both. I'm not sure he knew that. And then he worked his way down, making it finer and finer and finer. We're only going to talk briefly about families and species and then varieties. And I thought I would start off with Rima takes care of cats. So we'll start off with cats. And while she's still here, I can bring her into this. Would you agree with me that there's a family of cats that include all the kinds of cats in the world?
Yeah.
Alrighty. But then there's species. Would you want to toss out a few? I'll give you a hint. A lion.
Yeah. Tigers. Tiger.
Yeah. What else?
Ocelot.
Oh, yeah.
Cheetah.
Pumas. Oh, I forgot the cheetahs. Yes. Tigers, leopards, and our kitty cats.
Our own house cats.
Our own house cats. All of those belong to the family of, and I don't know the Latin name, but let's call them the cat family. But then we have the species, the lions, the tigers, our kitty cats. But once we get down to our kitty cats, we have what we call varieties. Well, that's what I call them, thinking of plants. What would be 1 or 2 or 3 cats that are a variety of cats that are, you look at one and you exactly know what kind of a kitty cat it is.
Persian.
A Persian or a Siamese.
Siamese, yeah.
Or, got another one?
Short hair?
I think so.
Domestic short hair?
Yeah, I think you're right. The Maine Coon cat? Maine
Oh,
Coon?
the Maine Coon cat,
Yeah.
yes.
Or the Russian Rex?
Yeah.
All right. So we're getting more specific as we go down the line. So plant breeders do the same thing. And what nature has done over time, millions and millions of years, A plant breeder can do in maybe a decade or 50 years. Now that we're beginning to get down onto the molecular level, we can do it much faster. But starting with our ancestors, I'm going to say 10,000 years ago, that left behind the hunting gathering and turned to agriculture, we've been doing this all the time. Because what do we want? We're looking for size. I mean, if I can grow a big tomato, why would I want to grow a little one? Although we do grow little ones as well.
Right.
I want it to be productive. If I can get 100 tomatoes off that plant instead of 50, why wouldn't I want to do that? Okay, taste. Some just taste better than others. Sometimes it's color, especially when we get into flowers. We like certain colors. I remember, I'm thinking 30 some years ago, and I think it was Gurney, but I'm not sure, a big seed catalog company from the Midwest. They were determined to find a white marigold. So they would send anybody that ordered from them would get a free package of marigold seeds, and you were to grow them. And if anybody could grow one that was white, they would get, I forget, I'm going to say $10,000. I don't remember the prize. Now, whether they've ever accomplished that, I don't know. But that's how you did it in the old days. You took the seeds from the parent, and because of we'll talk about it, the sexually genetic mix, there was always a range of colors. So then you would take the seeds from the palest yellow and you'd grow them the next year. And if you kept doing this, eventually they hoped you could get a white marigold. All righty.
Did they ever?
I don't know.
No.
We will Google that after this program is over and find out.
I've never seen one.
I've never heard about it either. Taste, color, smell, resistance to diseases. That's really important. Now with climate change, they're trying to grow corn that will grow in hotter climates and drier climates. So now, I don't know if you're old enough, Rima. When I was a kid, we ate string beans. Did you eat string beans?
I think we had them in the garden. Yeah.
Do we have string beans anymore in the garden? What do we call them?
I don't know. It's funny. We just call them beans.
Green beans.
Green beans. Okay.
There is no string anymore. Where did the string go?
I know what you're talking about.
It was bred out.
Oh.
We didn't like the string. It was tough, or you had to spend an extra second
Yeah.
pulling the string off when you were. Yeah. That's an example of breeding. We get rid of the undesirable and we breed in over time the desirable. Let me see. However, let's call it the child of that breeding system, however many generations you go, is considered a hybrid, which means you cannot grow their seeds because they will not reproduce true to the parents. Now, hybrids are wonderful. I really don't want to go back to eating string beans or the potatoes like in Ireland that all succumb to the blight and all those millions of people. All right, so hybridizing on the one hand is really wonderful, but sometimes it has a negative. Now, things have changed. About 20 or so years ago, you could not buy roses that smelled like roses. You remember that? Because they had bred for size and color and no thorns, all wonderful things. But in that process, they lost the genes for the smell. Well, now they're working on bringing those back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Okay. What else was I where am I going with this? Oh, in the old days, you always saved your seed because the parents were not hybrids. So the seed would grow true in most cases. Now you can't. And you might have heard there's some big fights going on in the Midwest where, for us, maybe we spend $200 a year on seeds. But some of those big farmers spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands and now they can't save their own seed, partly because the big seed companies are monopolies and they have the ear of the law and they've passed laws. And even so, in most cases, it wouldn't come true, the corn or the wheat or the soybeans. So you're stuck with every year going back to the seed producers and buying your seed because it's a hybrid. So that's a whole nother topic we can talk about sometime. Now, how do plants reproduce? Unlike people, Rima, I can't chop off your arm, stick it in a petri dish, and we grow another Rima, right? But the plant world can do that. So I would say most plants out there reproduce sexually. You need pollen from the male and a pistil on the female part, and they unite by various ways, and then seeds are produced. Right. But plants also reproduce vegetatively. For instance, that goose grass in your lawn that creeps along with the stolons pops up. Every plant is identical to the parent plant. It's a clone. Or when you decide you see them once in a while advertised. I wouldn't buy them, but they're there. An apple tree with 5 different varieties of apples growing on it. Well, how do they do that? Because, well, they take off I'm going to lose the word.
Grafting?
Thank you. A graft from a Northern Spy or Red Delicious or whatever. And they graft it onto a mother tree, root system, whatever. And then those 5 branches will produce those 5 varieties of apples. Also, I was just reading, and I remember, I think it was in the late 1800s, thereabouts, when all of a sudden the wine industry in France had a disaster. It was the same sort of thing as the potato famine, but it was some sort of disease that was killing the roots of the grapevines. And can you imagine France without the vineyards? But some clever fellow over here in America realized that whatever that was, it began with a P and it was a long name, the disease, didn't affect the roots of American grapevines. So we shipped over all these grapevine roots and they grafted on their Merlot or whatever, there's fancy varieties. And so their industry was saved. So that's all vegetative. Okay. More expensive. I remember when I wanted to plant some red maples in my windbreak, and the Musser catalog from Pennsylvania is basically a big tree place, and you could get everything from 10 one-year yearlings, 1-year-old trees, I think for $10 for 10. They're only this high.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're more expensive now. That was 30 years ago. But there was a splendid, what was it? I'm going to make up the name because I forget the name. I'm going to call it Red Autumn Red Maple. And it was a spectacular red maple tree. But it was $35. Why? Because it was a clone. Out in nature, if you walk the forests of the East, red maples are very common, almost 40% of our woods. And 1 in a million, because of the variety, because of the sex. Always, when you have sex, whether with people or plants, you wind up with offspring that vary. And there's going to be 1 in a million that's crimson red, beautiful thing. Oh. If you clone that particular tree by a variety of methods, root cuttings, taking a little snip, and what was the word? Grafting it on, you will get the identical tree.
What if you took the seeds from it? That wouldn't work?
No, that would not work because the seeds are created by pollination.
Oh, another tree.
Okay. Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. Or in some cases, it's the same tree or bush or shrub, but they have the male and the female parts, on it, but they're not identical.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you say, they're clones.
So if you want the clone, the identical, then you have to pay more money because it's more expensive. And I've often done this. I'll buy a package of dianthus seeds, and they show a lovely lavender pink dianthus flower. And what do I get? I plant like eight seeds of that package. I might get one that
I've
looks
had that
like,
happen to me
yeah,
too.
but there'll be white ones and dark ones and
Yeah.
striped ones. Once again, sex. You're getting a
Okay.
mix. Later, after we look at our varieties, which are probably almost all hybrids, um, we'll talk about saving seeds and why that doesn't usually work these days, because you're not going to get what the parent was. Okay.
Huh.
Alrighty. Do. Alrighty. Let's try and look at, well, they're not going to be in the order I have. So this part of the talk is, I thought for next year, I will pass on what I think are some wonderful varieties
Mm.
That were bred for certain reasons that have done well for me and that I like.
So they'll
Now,
work in this area.
yes, they work.
This is nice.
Right. I'm not growing, well, I still do try and grow watermelon, but I don't grow palm trees or orange trees or whatever, you know? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're good for this area and they have qualities that I like. Now, this first one, which was not first on my list, but we're not gonna worry about the computer that did not put them in order for some reason. It had a mind of its own. This is a Waltham butternut squash, which is almost it is an heirloom. And I have grown by mistake 1 or 2 years. They didn't have this variety in the catalogs I used, so I got the new Waltham. Don't do it. I did not like it at all. Yes, it was bigger. And yes, it was 10 days earlier, but it sure as heck didn't taste that good.
Wow.
So if you can get it, the Waltham, and how are we going to do this? Some of these have a name under them, right? On the big screen so that we don't, how are we going to let people know? What does that say?
Oh, that just says butternut squash.
Okay. Waltham, I think it's Waltum, or close to that, if you're going to get this butternut squash. And if you grow it on your old compost heap, the one that's mellowing out, one little teeny tiny seed will grow a vine that'll produce 18 of these. And they do get about 8-10 inches long.
And you don't have trouble with deer, do you?
No,
I don't
not
understand why you don't. I know that
because
if
I have
planted
my
this-
grandmother's cowbell and I
Oh.
keep an eye and I rush out yelling, screaming like an idiot when I'm
Oh,
banging my bell.
okay.
Sometimes I do. In the last couple of years, they haven't come in the garden. Knock on wood.
Huh.
All
'Cause, yeah,
right.
you don't have a fencing or dogs or anything.
Well, I don't have dogs. I do some netting. Well, that's another topic. If we get going on that, we'll never
Yeah,
get done here.
Okay.
All righty. How do we move to the next one,
Okay.
Rima, since
Stop
you're here?
screen. Click on that.
The red one?
Yep.
Okay. Just once?
Yep.
Now what? That back down to the green?
Share. Yep.
All righty.
Which one?
Okay. Well, oh, I see. Squint. That's the spinach, right?
Yep.
That's okay. Just click on it.
Yep. Once. And then share.
And then share.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. Well, this wasn't the spinach I was going to, you see, I had organized it by when you plant things. So I started out with the peas and spinach.
Oh.
Anyway, spinach is not that popular these days. I guess Popeye has kind of lost its, do they have Popeye in the comics anymore? Wasn't he the one that ate the spinach, or was it his girlfriend that ate the spinach?
No, it was him.
Him. All righty. So I don't think it's that popular anymore, because if you go through the seed catalogs, there are certain things that have blossomed in the last 10-20 years. Tomatoes being one. You can find almost 1 million varieties of tomatoes. I'm not kidding. There's some catalogs that are just tomatoes. Can you believe?
Wow.
50 pages of tomatoes. Spinach, you're lucky if you find 4 varieties these days. And they're basically, I think, 2 types. This is a fairly smooth leaf, and this one is called Space. Another nice one similar is Olympia. from the state of Maine. It was developed up there and named after their senator, Olympia.
Oh.
Yes. I think so anyway. That's the joke the catalog made anyway. So I'm assuming it was named after her. The other spinach, can we find the other spinach? Oh, so say
sharing.
again. Alrighty.
And then go down to share screen. Yep.
And can we find it
Where
though?
is our little guy?
Do we have to go down the screen?
Yep.
Over here?
Yep.
On the gray?
Yep.
Who it's so little is.
There he is.
Okay. Click it.
Yep. And then share.
Oh, and then share. Slow brain here.
Ta-da.
Alrighty. This is Winter Bloomsdale or Bloomsdale. There's two slight variations on the variety, and they're much more crinkly, which means when you sow the seed early in the spring, like the first week in April, if your ground is all prepared in the fall ahead of time, a light coating of pine needles I used this year. And then you don't have to wash your spinach.
Right.
Yep.
Nice.
Winter Bloomsdale, by the way, is an heirloom. So I'm not sure. You could double check online, folks, or in a book. It may be that you could save the heirloom seeds, that they will breed true. I'm not sure on that. Next time, when we talk about frost in 2 weeks, because it is getting on towards that time of year, I'm going to talk about the possibility of planting Winter Bloomsdale now and wintering it over. And then it will come up 3 weeks early in the spring and you'll get an early crop. So it's very, very hardy. You can probably, with a little bit of covering, keep a late planting up until at least Thanksgiving. Okay, let's go through this routine again now. Up here.
Yep.
And then down here.
Okay.
Whoops. And then okay. Is this our kale?
It is.
Well, let's do kale next. Oh, and then share.
Yep. Yeah, talk about another curly thing.
Okay. Since I don't know how to do this, I asked Melanie and then Rima to get these images for me during the week. And I could not remember. I don't grow kale, but my daughter does in part of my garden. And I know some of them I love silvery blue-green colors, but they also have some burgundy red kale. And sometimes the stems are one color, red, dark maroony, but the leaves are the blue-green. So I guess you cook kale, but you also eat it in salad raw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And to me, part of the pleasure of eating, since I'm not blind, and as my father would say to my mother, it's so dark in here you can't see what you're eating. Why are we eating with candles? Anyway, I think, and also it looks beautiful in the garden. You can almost grow this in your flower garden. So did she find she didn't name it, did she?
No, it just says kale.
So sorry, guys. Now kale, along with lettuces and other greens in some catalogs, have just gone crazy in the last 20, 30 years. Whereas you used to buy iceberg lettuce or one or two others. About 30 years ago, we discovered leaf lettuce and bib lettuce and cos lettuce and all these different varieties of lettuce. And so I grow 7 or 8 in my garden, partly for the color and the texture. And it's the same with kale. In a decent catalog, seed catalog, you can probably find at least 6 to 8 varieties, different colors, some more crinkly than others. Okay, so we're going to move on here. What's that? That's a lettuce.
That's butter crunch.
Okay, well, all right, let's try and do the lettuces all together. Whoops, where'd that little icon go? Oh, isn't that nice? I think butter crunch, which is you've got somebody, an old variety, and it might even be an heirloom at this point, to me is one of the most delicious lettuces you can grow. But of the 8 varieties I grow, The one the snails are attracted to is this one. So you have to do the dawn patrol to get rid of the snails, or you'll have leafy buttercrunch lettuce. Now, somebody came into the library, so Rima has disappeared. See if I can remember how to do this. Alrighty. And this is one of my favorites for growing on the windowsill in the winter, black-seeded Simpson. Now, I don't know who I'm assuming it was a Mr. Simpson was, but this too is an heirloom that's been around for quite a while. Black-seeded, which means the seeds are black. Some lettuce seeds are white. Just out of commentary. If you're we'll talk about it maybe in our last session in October, but you can grow lettuce even on your windowsill, even without, if you have a south-facing windowsill, even without overhead lights. And if you're going to do this, grow the leaf lettuces. They seem to do best in the dimmer light of the wintertime, shorter days, lower angle, and they grow rapidly, and you can harvest either the largest leaves at a time or cut them down to an inch, and they regrow 2, 3, maybe even 4 times. So the leaf lettuces, such as black-seeded Simpson, would be a good choice. I think this is, yes. Now, until maybe 30 years ago, Americans probably wouldn't eat this kind of a lettuce because it's not green. It's I believe it's from France, but maybe not. It's called Merlot, like the wine, which does come from France. And it's a leaf lettuce that is not very large. It's a medium-sized leaf lettuce, but I do love the dark, 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 dark leaf color. When I make a salad, I usually try of my 7 or 8 varieties, at least have 4. The black-seeded Simpson that we just saw is a pale, pale yellowy green. And Merlot is this intense, I don't know, what is that color? Maroon? Blood red? And I don't, I'll see if she's found some others. Some are coppery, golden red with green. So you have lots of choices. Now, let's see. Don't want to muck things up here. Doom, doom, doom. Oh, I see. They're moved, aren't they? Well, let's see if we can find our other lettuces here. I guess she did not find other lettuces. So let's back up and do the beets. Now, my daughter grew these for the first time this year, the year of the drought. As I recall, once again, my daddy was from the South. He was from Louisiana, and they ate greens, turnip greens, beet greens, as well as lettuce greens. And beet greens, once again, most beets are red, most tops are green, but not all. In this newer variety, I think it's a newer variety, bull's blood, the leaves are this dark, dark, dark red, as well as the beets being red. And so, hi guys, we're on the air. If you come back here, you'll be seen all over the world, so you might not want to do that. And so once again, like the kale, I love the contrast of the colors. So I'm not sure if we got the other beet greens, but once again, this is a double crop. You can thin out the toppings for greens, either raw or cooked. And then when harvest time comes, you've got the bottoms as well. So Let me see if we had the other beets. No. Whether wait a second. Is that the same picture?
No, don't look at that.
Don't look at that.
That's what
Okay.
we're seeing.
All right. Let's see if I can scoot down here.
No,
with
I think there were 3 that she couldn't find, and I thought the beets was
the other
of
one.
them.
Okay. The
Thought
other
so.
beets that she couldn't find were a rainbow beet, which
Ooh.
once again, I like my mashed potatoes to be whitish. And although I don't eat many beets, I like them to be red. So white beets, why?
You know, it makes me think of the carrots.
Yeah, same
You
thing
get
with the carrots.
purple and yellow and orange carrots.
I don't know. Daffodils should be yellow, not blue. Maybe marigolds being white are okay because that's on the spectrum of
I think it
red,
sounds
orange,
weird.
yellow, cream colored. All righty. What happened here with my screen?
We're in
What's
the
up
process of
above?
sharing. Who do you want to share next?
Okay. Did we see everything above this? Is my question first. I don't know either. So we're gonna mumble and bumble here and go, come on, back up. All righty.
Do we see the Simpson lettuce?
Yeah, when you were
Okay.
taking care of a customer, we
good
saw,
job.
and we saw the Merlot, which is a beautiful color. All righty.
And the spinach.
What's that?
I don't know. What is that little guy? Go down a little bit.
Well, you know what? I'm going to first do the chard because that's kind of in the same
Oh
category
yeah,
as greens.
talk about colorful chard. Yeah.
Yes. Some people, oh, right, we were already there. Some people grow this in their flower gardens. It's called, I think, rainbow chard. And once again, chard can have different
yes, you're
colored
right.
leaves.
You're right. It says rainbow chard. Yep.
Yep. And I suspect this is a hybrid that's been bred for this. I'm guessing regular chard is what color? Green?
Green.
Green,
Okay.
I think.
They always seem to have red though.
Red
stems and red in their
in
leaves.
the veins and in the
Yeah,
leaves. Okay. So the colors are hiding out there in the genes, maybe recessively or something. But they have bred these so you can have a rainbow of colors: reds, pinks, yellows,
Yeah.
golds, orange probably. And once again, it looks pretty. Okay, let me think. Doo-ba-doo. Where did it go? My little.
Keep moving your
Oh,
mouse around.
oh. I see.
We done peas yet?
Not yet, but I'm curious about what is this?
Oh, it's cost lettuce.
Oh, cos or romaine. Wait a second.
Are they the same thing?
More or less. Kos, I believe,
Oh.
is the island of Kos, which is in the Eastern Mediterranean, I believe. But romaine is, once again, you can look this up, guys. But I think it's two names for the same thing, or very cousins, very closely the same thing. And that's the tall lettuce, ribbed. Now, what's the famous Caesar salad? Caesar salad is made with a Kos lettuce.
Okay.
Okay, and it's the leaves are not as tender in your mouth. They're stiffer or whatever, and quite often they have it grows tall. You know, maybe even a foot tall, and more like a ovally shape, not round. And quite often the base and the innards are whiter, and the outer upper are darker green and crinkled. Although they're now making I grew it one year, a few years ago, a reddish purple Kos. So once again, you know, let's have fun with color.
Pretty.
Although then it becomes your the plate you serve it on or the bowl you serve it in. You have to be careful now of color combinations, right? At least I would.
You have all your plates and bowls could be white.
Yes, how boring.
Or black.
Or black. Okay, peas she wants. Now what? Oh, green arrow. Okay. We can tell the tale. You can tell the tale about saving green.
Ooh, those are
green arrow pea seeds. Up, she's got to take care of the customers. So I'll tell it. I like green arrow peas. Once again, varieties come in different heights
Move that.
Move what? What did I do? You do it. Okay. Be careful. Don't press a button when you're doing something because who knows what. You won't go to the moon. You'll wind up in outer space. I changed the
Or in the
trajectory.
heart
Oh
of the
my God.
sun.
How do I get back on where I was? Alrighty. You grow peas. Sometimes you want a short season pea, which usually means a short growing pea. Um, Sometimes the alderman, which I did not get a picture of, they keep growing 6, 7, 8 feet high and continue giving you peas all summer long, which I feel here is not good because I don't like peas that are in hot weather. They just don't taste as good. So Green Arrow was a nice compromise in that, look at that, usually 9 peas. So the pods are at least 4 inches long, maybe 5.
Wow.
And it was supposed to only grow about 2.5 feet high. And when we get to the end of the talk, if we have time, I'm going to mention a few things you can save seeds. Peas and beans are one of them, partly because they're self-pollinated by bees or other flying insects, and they breed true. So for years, I have saved my peas and my black turtle beans and Mexican red dry beans and sometimes my green beans, but not as often. Anyway, and they breed true. But for some reason, last year, and especially this year, I had given some to Rima. What happened, Rima?
They were huge. The plant tall.
They just kept
It
growing.
kept growing over the fence, over the
Yeah,
support on the other side.
Try. And there's nothing worse than trying to retrellis your
Yeah.
pea crop when it grows beyond expectations.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe in saving the seeds, we have reverted back to the old, most peas in the old days were vining, I think.
Oh.
And one of the things breeders have tried to do in the last 50 years was to make them shorter because people would rather deal with a 2 or 3 foot, and some of them you don't even have to stake or trellis. Anyway, it's about the other thing I used to do was I'd grow Marvel, which is a shorter 60-day. This is like a 72, 76-day pea. The Ottomans were more like 80 days on. So peas are best eaten fresh.
Oh, yeah.
Some varieties, though, that's the other thing they breed for. Canning in the old days. Who cans peas anymore? You freeze them,
Right.
So if you want to extend your fresh pea season, you don't grow, you do one of two things. You grow all of Green Arrow, and you say you grow a 60-foot row. You divide it into 20, 20, 20, and you plant very beginning of April, third week in April, first week in May. And then if the season cooperates, doesn't stall out or jump ahead, you will space out your fresh harvest over a longer period. The other way to go is plant everything at once, 3 varieties, one that matures in 60 days, one in 72, one in 80. Ta-da. So that's our peas. And now we're going to get to my favorite discovery, ta-da, which is a pumpkin. Ta-da. Come on, you skinny little line. Can't get it, can I? What's happening? Why won't it go?
Just keep trying. Yeah. Click on it until it turns into.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to say hand, but that wasn't right.
All right. She probably, the other two were the onions then. Okay, we're going to talk about one of my favorite discoveries. The winter luxury pumpkin. Now, this also is pretty much an heirloom. And for people who grow, I don't grow usually jack-o'-lanterns. I grow pie pumpkins. And there is a difference. The pie pumpkin has been chosen and then bred to be sweeter and tenderer, if that's such a word, more tender, and it makes wonderful pies. If you want a jack-o'-lantern, you don't care about what the innards taste like because you're not going to cook it. You just want it to be big and orange and maybe ribbed Sometimes big and round, sometimes tall and ovally shaped, whatever. Now, of course, they're breeding jack-o'-lanterns that are white, the ghost pumpkins, right?
Oh,
And they're also,
yuck.
yeah, well, and then they're not like my blue daffodils. Nah, Dante can take them down to the middle part of his journey. But this is winter luxury pie pumpkin. Now, for years, I grew the New England pie pumpkin, which is the classic pie pumpkin that originated somewhere maybe 100 years ago in New England. And once again, it's like that red maple tree. I'm assuming that somebody found in their pumpkin patch the New England pie pumpkin, which was relatively small, maybe 6 to 8 inches in diameter. You could make one big pie, two small pies out of it, but it was extra sweet, extra tender when you cook it down. I will bet anybody $100 that you can't beat smoothness from this pie.
I
This
was
pie
just-
will win the. Have
I
you
was
grown?
just
Did
thinking
I
that
give
because
you?
you gave me
I
at
gave.
least two,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh,
they
you
weren't
haven't.
stringy at all.
No,
It was
absolutely
it was
creamy.
super easy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was
Yep.
wonderful.
Yep.
Super easy to work with.
Now they look different than our orange
They
smooth.
do. Yeah.
They have what is called a netting over them.
Mm.
Now, honestly, this has been a weird year, and especially with the drought.
Yeah.
And so normally on that 2-year-old compost heap that's still decomposing, because we'll talk about that some other time. One seed normally would give me 12 to 14 of my pie pumpkins, along with 18 butternut squash, because I would plant them next to each other and they'd get all tangled up. And come middle of July, I start snipping the edges because they're just running for everything into the garden, into the lawn. This year, they didn't seem to develop their netting. And I'm thinking, because I did, for my grandson, order a Diablo jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. And I thought I planted one of each. But you know how it is in the spring here. You label your little cups. I start them indoors. And sometimes you get the label wrong or you put the wrong seed in. So I'm thinking, oh no, what have I got? A bunch of Diablo jack-o'-lanterns. But in the last 3 weeks, the netting has shown up.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a
those
rambler.
Pumpkins are great.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've only got 5 this year. And only 4 butternut squash. So I may give you the seed and you can grow your own next year. Okay. How's that? Okay. Onions. Let's see. Oh, let me not forget the red one first, the green one second. Give me a yellow. And why can't it stay where it is? You are a pest. Now, I grow. Did they have a label on it?
Sweet Georgia Brown.
Yeah. I used to have a blues show on the College Station for 10 years. And the name Sweet Georgia Brown for a sweet Spanish onion just tickles my fancy. Another one that I've grown a lot is the Walla Walla, which comes from, sounds like that NPR Sunday morning show where they have the quiz. Walla Walla, where in the US is that city? It's in Idaho, I think. Where they grow onions?
Oh.
Yeah. Idaho, for some reason, has the climate and the soil for onions, just like Georgia. I think the Vandalia onions come from Georgia, but we really can't grow them because they are a short day onion. If we do this program next year, I've already looked at the possibility of if we decide to run it again next spring and summer, a more advanced course where we talk about, this is 101 level. Yeah. Maybe we'll move up to the 102 level. And so we'll talk about onions. Many plants do this, but onions in particular are sensitive to the length of the day. And if anybody's noticed, back in at the beginning of summer, at the end of June, my cat always got me up. It was 4:30 in the morning, first light. Yes. Well, now, guys, we're at the end of August, and first light doesn't come till almost 6 o'clock
Yeah,
now,
that's what I'm thinking, around
right?
6.
And it's the same thing at night. It gets dark sooner.
Yeah.
Well, onions are very sensitive to this. And so we who live in the north, it's considered long day onions, that the onions will bulb out. And my onions now are a good many of them, not all of them, because of the drought. And some of them don't get as much sun as the others, but some of them are a good 4 inches in diameter at
Wow.
this point. So I grow 3 varieties. I grow a sweet Spanish, like sweet Georgia Brown or Walla Walla, because they are sweet. They are wonderful. If you like to eat them raw in salads or to slice up in your hamburgers when you make hamburger, um, but they don't keep. You really have to eat them up by, I would say, Halloween. Even in the best of storage, they're not going to last that long. Um, and if you go down your row, some are going to have thin necks. That's good for keeping. Some are fatter necks. Use those first because they don't last as long. I don't know quite why. They want to grow again or something. Alrighty. Then I always pick a red one. And I think this year I grew Redfield, which has a nice burgundy coating. And then when you slice it, the first few rows are red, but then it becomes white. Now there's some, and I'm going to forget the names that I've grown in the past, that are pretty much red, white, red, all the way to the center. So once again, go to the catalogs, the seed catalogs, because there you're going to find the choice. You're not going to find the choice really in a store, especially in a box store. And then you want to, and they will last. Now, once again, read the labels. Some reds only last up till about Christmas time in storage. The ones I had last year, and maybe they were the Redfield, they lasted all the way into February.
Wow.
So once again, some are better keepers than others, but you definitely want a keeper. And they tend to be the globe-shaped, tan colored onions that make you cry like you're in the opera third act and she's dying, kind of onion because of the sulfur content.
Oh.
But if you want to make onion soup, you need the keepers. You need that sulfur. Because if you want to caramelize your onions, you need the keepers. So, and they keep breeding new ones. I had some that I liked, and now you can't find the seed anymore. So I've gone with Patterson the last few years. And if they keep going, that won't be available after a while either. So anyway, what time is it, Rima? I'm losing track.
It's 12:18.
So we've got 10 minutes. All righty, let me just run through here. Ta-da.
Did we see all the veggies?
I think we saw all the veggies, right? Yes. Oh, wait. I think we did, but maybe let's just double check. Dum, dum. Here we go again.
Yeah, they all look familiar.
Yeah, I think we saw them all.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's briefly talk about, because people are thinking of doing it around this time of year, saving your seed. We already mentioned that if you have hybrids, which most of us will in the vegetable garden and even in the flower garden, unless you want to take a gamble, who knows, you may find that white marigold. But chances are when things revert, you don't get the best. You lose what they were working for. And do you remember in 10th grade biology, they did the chart, the blue eyes and the brown eyes?
Yes.
And there was always some kid in the back snickering, how come you have brown eyes when your parents have blue eyes? Well, you won't go there. But that's, and you made that chart. Mendel, right? That monk from somewhere in Russia in the 1800s playing with his peas, right? smooth peas, wrinkle peas.
Yeah.
And he first came up with this idea about heredity and how you have recessive genes that don't show up on the surface and dominant genes. All right. And you made the chart. Brown eyes, blue eyes, what are the possibilities? Just to clear the slate here, two brown-eyed parents can have blue recessive genes. It's hidden in their brown eyes. And if they both carry the blue recessive and aren't pure brown, then one child in four, I believe, will be blue-eyed. If you make that chart with the squares. So anyway, that's what's happening with our seeds. So if you grow a green arrow, maybe, or it's definitely tomatoes and your squashes and things, you're not going to get what you think. So let's just briefly talk about how this happens. Some plants are pollinated by the wind, such as corn, which is why you never plant corn in one long row. It needs to be bunched up at least 3 rows wide so that the wind can take that pollen and blow it around and pollinate the silks that go down into the ear. And
So bees don't do any of that?
Nope. Wind, grasses are pollinated basically by the wind. And corn, I believe, is considered a grass, a monocot. Yeah, okay, I better follow my directions here. Now, some plants, right, the bees and all the other little, sometimes it's moths, sometimes it's hummingbirds or butterflies. And what their job is, they're taking the pollen from one plant and bringing it to another. And so you're getting this mix. It's a sexual thing. And therein lies the variety from which future types of plants will grow. And it's all about evolution. Evolution is hybridizing, you could say maybe, over millions and millions of years. That a plant has to fit into its environment to survive. And the fittest, compared to the environment, are the most likely to survive and have babies. So as time goes on, evolution moves on. So in a sense, I see the plant hybridizers clicking into that and just speeding things up because we have this brain that can figure things out. Now, the other problem with saving seeds is cross-pollination. And I'm going to use my 3, I don't know how to pronounce it, the squash family, which includes zucchinis, squash, pumpkins, and I think gourds, and something else that we don't eat or know about up here in the north. They all belong to a big family. It begins with a C, C-U-R-B, something or other. But each one is a separate species. And we have 3 main species. And I'm going to look at my notes so I don't get them mixed up. Where am I?
It'd be summer squash and winter squash.
Okay, summer squash and zucchini and some pumpkins, but not all, belong to the Peppo family. The butternut squash is all by itself. It's spelled Moschata, Moscata. And then we have most pumpkins in the Maxima family. Now, these 3 families all evolved in different parts of Central America and South America, different, far enough apart that they evolved separately from one another. And of those 3, if you look on, when do I plant these? When is it safe? The butternut squash is the most tender, and it evolved in the lowlands of Mexico. The other 2, the Peppo and the Maxim, were higher up, like in the Andes. So that's their heritage. How hardy they are. But they were all in the same family, but they're different species. However, they will cross. For instance, if I grow a summer squash and a zucchini, and then I want to save the seeds, they're not going to breed true because they could crossbreed.
I'll bet ours did. They're right next to each other.
Yeah, okay, so don't, so what I do then is I grow a zucchini or summer squash that's in the pepple family. I grow my winter luxury pumpkin pie in the Maxima family. And I grow my butternut squash, or it is this in the Moscata family. So since those are three separate families, they don't cross. It has to be varieties
okay.
in the
Within
family.
the family. Okay.
So I can save those seeds. All right. Sorry about that. We get a little into the weeds there, don't we? Okay. And everybody, if you have a compost heap, you know the following year, up pops a tomato or up pops a pumpkin or a squash or something. And sometimes you let them grow and they're always a surprise. And, but anyway. All righty. We're about out of time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we won't go into self-sowing. I'll remember to try and do that next time. Who knows? The average frost comes around the 1st of October, average, but who knows? It might come early. And we've had a strange year as far as cool fronts coming down from Canada, plus warm, muggy stuff coming up from the Mississippi. So we're going to talk in 2 weeks about frost, what it is, how it kills your plants, how to protect them, postpone death. Talking about
Sounds
planting and overwintering your spinach. And somebody typed up something for me for the papers, and it was about green manure. And I had to make a joke. It is, because she didn't know what it was. It is not you get green dye and color the horse manure green. It's not, that's not green manure. So we're going to learn what green manure is next time, and you may decide you want to do it. So don't go out buying any green manure. Okay, we're done. How do we turn this all off? See you in 2 weeks.
And meeting for all.
You have to